Welcome to the Peaceful Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Rosensweet, mom of 3 young people, peaceful parenting coach, and your cheerleader and guide on all things parenting. Each week, we'll cover the tools, strategies, and support you need to end the yelling and power struggles and encourage your kids to listen and cooperate so that you can enjoy your family time. I'm happy to say we have a great relationship with our 3 kids. The teen years have been easy and joyful, not because we're special unicorns, but because my kids were raised with peaceful parenting. I've also helped so many parents just like you stop struggling and enjoy their kids again. I'm excited to be here with you today and bring you the insight and information you need to make your parenting journey a little more peaceful. Let's dive into this week's conversation. Hey all, it's Sarah and I'm back with another episode of the Peaceful Parenting Podcast. Today is a solo episode. That means just me talking to you, hopefully helping you out on your parenting journey. Before we dive in today, I just want to tell you about a free workshop that I have coming up. You can sign up for it at sarah.rosensweet.com/free workshop. It is all about peaceful discipline, how to get your kids to cooperate and listen without yelling, threats, bribes, or punishment. And I know that's something that everyone wonders, like, wait, what do I do once I drop out all of those tools that we don't want to use anymore? How do I actually get them to move through the day and do the things that we need them to do, or stop doing the things that I don't want them to do? I am going to go over all of this for you. It's an action-packed, tool-filled workshop. I'm also going to be there live to answer any of your questions, so I hope that you will join me. It is either Monday, August 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern or Thursday, August 11th at noon Eastern. If you are listening to this and the workshop has already gone by, you can still sign up for the waitlist to be notified the next time I am running it. Okay, back to the show. Today, I just wanted to share something with you that I think you might need to hear. So many times in my membership or in my coaching calls or in my Facebook groups, I hear parents talking about how they feel bad about, letting their kids watch too much TV or not making a, healthy dinner or yelling at them or maybe not paying the amount of attention that they wish they had paid. And I hear parents just feeling really bad about that. And I have a newsflash for you. You don't have to be a perfect parent. I just want to say that again. You don't have to be a perfect parent. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you don't have to be a perfect parent. And I hope that by the end of this episode, you believe me and you take it to heart. And also, I hope that you'll share this with a friend who you think might need to hear this from you. Okay, because this is the thing that I want you to pay really close attention to. You can both work on your parenting, try to improve, increase your learning and practice the tools that you're learning, and wake up every day and be committed to being the best peaceful parent that you can be and working on it. And you don't have to be perfect. Both of those things can exist at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. So you can both not put the pressure on yourself to be perfect, and you can keep working on your parenting. Just wanted to make that point. Before we dive in to the reasons why you don't have to be a perfect parent, I just want you to take extra good attention with this episode, because I see you and hear you and I listen to you meaning you parents in my audience, and I know how hard you are on yourselves. And I want you to go easier on yourselves. And I know that it's still going to be important to you, even if you let go of some of this perfection. But I just want this to be a giant dose of love for you and a big hug for you, because I know, as I said, I know how hard you are on yourselves, and you don't have to be. So please take this to heart and really listen and really try and remind yourself. Listen to it more than once if you have to. You don't have to be a perfect parent. I just wanted to say that. This is like an extra exclamation point for you before we start with the reasons, because this is so important and it's just so common. And I just see so many of you struggling with this idea of not being a good enough parent. You are good enough. You are a good enough parent. And okay, enough of the sappy stuff. But I feel a lot for you all, okay? And so I just really wanted to record this from the heart of why I want you to be able to have some tangible reasons why you don't have to be a perfect parent. So here goes. Reason number 1, why you don't have to be a perfect parent. It's completely unrealistic. You are human. I'm human. We are going to mess up sometimes. That's just the way it is when you're a human being. You're not perfect. And if we hold ourselves to that standard of perfection, what are we teaching our kids? We're teaching them that they need to be perfect, right? There's this great anecdote I heard once from Brene Brown, and she said, if you think that you can be a perfectionist and get away without teaching your kids that they should be perfectionists, you might as well just line them up and put those little straitjackets of perfection on them, because it doesn't work. So we need to accept our humanity, that we will mess up sometimes, and we need to believe that we are still good people even when we mess up. So what do you do when you mess up? You apologize to your child. You say, I'm sorry. You do a repair. You say, I was tired. I shouldn't have yelled at you. You don't deserve to be yelled at, and I'm going to try and do better. So you model that you are forgiving of yourself when you mess up, and you model that it's okay to mess up and to do that repair, and you show your children what it means to be human. And humans are imperfect. We do our best, and sometimes we still mess up and fall short, and we're tired, and we're tapped out, and we've had a long day, and we're distracted, and we will mess up sometimes. And that's just part of being human, and it doesn't mean that we're not worthy or lovable. The funny thing about perfection also is that we're harder on ourselves than we need to be, and we're harder on ourselves than anyone else is hard on us. I heard this funny story once that stuck with me so much about parenting and perfection and our perspective and how it can get a little bit off sometimes. A woman was talking about some of her favorite memories from childhood, and she said that one of hers and her sister's favorite memories was of their small bites meals. Well, what were small bites meals? She and her sister sometimes would eat dinner in front of the TV, and they would have these plates of little things like olives or little pieces of cheese or crackers. And that was one of her favorite childhood memories. And she shared it with her mother, and her mother said, "What? Those were the nights that I was just too done and I couldn't get it together to make dinner, and I would just scrounge in the cupboards in the fridge and find something that you and your sister could eat and let you eat it in front of the TV." And the mom's point of view was that those were some of her parenting lows, right? Where she couldn't get that nice meal together. But for the kids, it was one of the highlights of their childhood. So sometimes that perfection is really all in our heads also, these standards that we hold ourselves to, and no one is judging you as harshly as you're judging yourself. So let's let ourselves be human. That's our first reason why we don't have to be a perfect parent, because we are human and we want to model having good self-worth for our kids and being easier on ourselves so that we know that we're still a good person, even if we're not perfect, and that's what we're teaching for our kids. The second reason why you don't want to be a perfect parent, or why you don't need to be a perfect parent, is because if you were, your kids would never have the chance to develop any resilience or problem solving or independence. So D.W. Winnicott, who was a famous psychologist from the 50s, he talked about the concept of the good enough mother. I think we can stretch that to the good enough parent, to modernize that a little bit, or the good enough caregiver. So the good enough parent is a parent who is responsive as they can be, reasonably attuned to their child and their child's needs. But of course, we're not going to get it right every time. We're not going to be able to get it right every time because, point number one, we're human. And what he supposed was that if we did meet our child's every need and they never had to stretch themselves, they wouldn't develop any resilience, right? So if we were there, able to bubble wrap them and meet every need, they wouldn't have that those skills that they need to develop, stretch themselves and become problem solvers and become resilient and be able to handle these ups and downs of everyday life that we all experience. So you can tell yourself the next time you mess up, okay, they're developing resilience. Of course, after you do a repair, like I mentioned before, I'm not saying any of this is like, we're going to let ourselves off the hook and we're not going to try anymore. I know that's not the case, because I know that you are listening to this podcast because you care so much about being a great parent and that you want to be the best parent that you can be. You don't need to beat yourself up to do it, right? You can let yourself off the hook sometimes, and you can, make that repair when you need to. And you can remind yourself that the goal here is not perfection. The goal here is to, love your kids with your whole self. So our third big idea why we don't need to be a perfect parent or even want to be a perfect parent is because it actually makes us worse parents when we set that for our goal. The tension of our own expectations for never yelling or keeping the perfect house or taking them on outings every day or, making sure that you get that, certain amount of time that you think is the magical number to spend together, or whatever it is that idea that you've constructed in your head of the perfect parent, that tension that we feel when we try and set ourselves up for something that's impossible, that's going to make us more reactive. And then the shame that we feel when we mess up or if we beat ourselves up, that actually is going to make us more reactive also. So really, between the tension of setting ourselves up for perfection and then the shame we might feel if we fall short, that's actually going to make us act worse. The next time you mess up and you're tempted to beat yourself up, maybe you're lying in bed and you can't sleep because you just feel bad about the 5 times that you yelled at the kids that day, I want you to talk to yourself like you would to your best friend. If your best friend called you and said, "Oh my gosh, I yelled at my kids 5 times today," what would you say to your best friend? You would say to your best friend something like, "It sounds like that was a hard day." Of course you yelled. Anyone in that situation would have yelled, "It sounds awful. I'm so sorry that you went through that." That's what I want you to do when you are tempted to beat yourself up and when you find yourself holding yourself up to an unattainable ideal. Remember, what would you say to your best friend if your best friend was having a hard time? You would give your best friend some understanding and some compassion. You would tell your best friend you don't need to be perfect. Why are we so much harder on ourselves than we are on all the people around us? Hopefully, our kids are not going to grow up that way, that they are going to have this conditional self-worth, or that they'll beat themselves up, or that they will think that they have to be perfect. That's hopefully we're breaking some cycles here. But if you're like a lot of the people in my community and a lot of the moms and dads and caregivers that I work with, you are out there being hard on yourself. And I want you to stop, okay? So here's that news flash again. You don't have to be a perfect parent. You really, really don't. And in fact, it gets in the way of being the parent that you want to be. You're setting unrealistic expectations for yourself and for your kids about what it means to be human and about shame and about being a good person. You might not let your kids develop resilience if you were more than the good enough parent that they need. And also, you're setting yourself up to not be the parent that you want to be by setting these unattainable goals of perfection, because it's going to make you more tense. And that tension and shame is going to actually make you more reactive and not be able to be the calm and loving parent that you want to be. If you have a friend or a family member that you think needs to hear this episode, please send it to them. I'd also love to hear what you think. You can join us in our free Facebook group, Peaceful Parenting with Sarah Rosensweet, and connect with a whole bunch of other wonderful parents who also know that they don't have to be perfect parents, or who at least are working on it. I would love to see you inside of our community. And again, don't forget to sign up for our free workshop, Peaceful Discipline, how to get your kids to cooperate and listen without yelling, threats, bribes, punishment, all of those things that we want to see. If you are listening to this podcast after the workshop has passed, don't worry, you can still check out the link and sign up to be on the wait list for the next time I offer it. I offer it usually about twice a year. So go to sarahrosensweet.com/free workshop. You can sign up either for that workshop or to be notified the next time that I'm offering it. And I will see you all next time on another episode of the Peaceful Parenting Podcast. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. I hope you found this conversation insightful and exactly what you needed in this moment. Be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Remember that I'm rooting for you. I see you out there showing up for your kids and doing the best you can. Sending hugs over the airwaves today. Hang in there. You've got this.